Welcome to Unveiling Reality. It is Wednesday and we are here. How's everybody doing? Welcome, Suzanne. How you doing? Welcome, Tweety. Welcome, Shelly. How's everybody doing? All right. Hope everybody's having a great week. Here we are, right in the middle of it. Yeah, man, it's been interesting around here. I know a lot of channels are feeling the crunch right now. Um, this one included, for sure. That's why I'm going to reiterate the winning Saturday night this week is going to be really keen because I'm going to go into all these issues. I'm not just going to make the appeal about my one issue going on. It'll be about that and more, of course. But as I prove the case as to why what we're all doing here is transformative, and how this whole content ID system is a mess. Now, whether they'll care or not is a different story. First of all, though, let me say hello and ask, is the audio sounding good? How's it going, Daisy? How you doing? Welcome, everybody. Yeah, so this Saturday, I have a whole presentation kind of planned out. I've been working on it all week. And it'll be a chance for everybody to kind of put their 2 cents in. I'm going to live record it, and then I'm going to clip that and then put that into like a 5-minute video to submit for my appeal, which is due on the 22nd of this month. Hey, Lady Autumn, how you doing? Welcome. Glad you guys are here this evening. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. We're going to get into some good stuff here. Just kind of getting warmed up. Picking up where we kind of left off last week and diving into some more issues. There's so many things to talk about in this line of thought we're taking here. So many different aspects to it that we'll just be having conversations for a long time about each little part of it. But I want you guys to know that it is a very interactive show, and that as we go through the board and as we drill down on topics, I want to hear your feedback about it, because that's what's going to make it really the most beneficial for everybody, is when everybody's putting their input into it and giving their perceptions on it and adding to it, because that gives me more ideas too. It gives me more things to work with and to understand the different perspectives that are going on as I'm presenting it, so I can do a better job and also have the most accurate and truthful information possible. So it takes all of us to do it. I'm kind of laying out the foundation about things. And it's just one way to kind of take a look at the world, and we look at it through this subversion filter, and we look at it through this filter of understanding that we live in a world where information is key, and it truly has an impact on our realities. So understanding this takes us to the point where we can actually start to do things to improve our world and put our energies in the right direction, and not be taken off course by all the traps and all the little gimmicks that are out there that are planning to do that. So hope everybody's doing well. Let me go ahead and bring up the retrospective board, and we'll start taking a look at that. Now, the theme of this week is intention is everything, and that's a saying that I've had for a long time, and I got it from my mentor, my rock star mentor, road mentor. He used to say it all the time about music and about life in general, and it really does ring true when we start to look at things in a more detailed manner. That behind every idea is an intention, right? Now, can they be changed? Can they be moved? Can the goalpost be moved within an idea? Certainly, that's what co-opting is all about. But intention, though, intention drives the underlying flow of energy that goes with these ideas. So a lot of times there's a false veil of in front of bad ideas, right, to make them look good. And we see that all the time in our society. We see that all the time with the ideas we're presented with, right? Like how they've taken the idea of tolerance and just completely ran it to the ground to make it intolerant. So you take things so far, like we learned from Yuri, like judo moves, right? You pull them in the direction they want to go in, and then you shift them and you move them into the direction you want them to go in. It's a judo move of subversion, where you're saying, okay, well, the idea of these ideal virtues, right, things that people would agree upon, um, they they're out there already. So why not wear a mask and say that, yes, this is what we want to, but then take it further and further and further. This is how we always see these loud, obnoxious, totally off keel voices rise to the top of these organizations, right? These different types of organizations that we come into in the first veil, right? So we see these different types of groups, these political groups, um, these woke groups. Now that's the evolution of I guess we should put in here like there's some evolutionary parts to this too. So if we were to put in here under the control, and like I'd like to categorize these better too. This is just how we're starting with all this, right? But under the idea of control of language, there's all kinds of things we can put in there, and I forget to bring this up. So that's why the board's here too. But do you guys remember political correctness? But remember that, right? Well, political correctness is wokeism evolved, right? I mean, I'm sorry, it's the other way around. Wokeism is political correctness evolved. So when you get into these areas right here, you start to see like a little path kind of building. And another one that kind of struck me this week, and I forgot about this. I was like, the stepping stones we kind of run into, right? Political correctness was a stepping stone to wokeness, and I think there were people shouting about that at the time, like this is going to lead to this, right? This is this idea of political correctness is a Marxist idea, right? It's a communist idea. So that this is part of their subversion tactics. We see how this relates and where it eventually leads, right? Into all these other areas that it empowers these areas. So when we gave way on political correctness, we gave in to some of these ideas. This feminism definitely has been around longer, but some of these other underlying ideas, right, that eventually became part of the language control system that goes on within this little realm here. So the other one I'm going to put this down before I forget it. Do you guys remember metrosexual? Do you remember metrosexual? Like metrosexual, I think would fit right in about here, right? It was like this quick little phase that went through where guys were like being encouraged to dress more feminine and be more stylish, right? It was supposed to be very harmless. Metro, right? Just do that, yeah. All right. So yeah, I want to remember that because that's an interesting little stepping stone that people forget about. that how this feminization of men was carried out in incremental steps, right? I guess I would kind of work into right here somewhere. It was like right about this level. These things were always going on in the background, by the way, but um, we kind of follow these things as they. Whoops, we kind of follow these things as they're moving. I'd like to see like more of like a as you're walking through this veil here, you're kind of seeing what's up front, right? And then you're kind of from there, you're kind of digging deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole until you get over to the second veil where you start to see the crossover, right, into these different realms of conspiracy and basically fear-based narratives, right? And so I know there's still a lot of question about like, okay, well, you know, we see a lot of truth in both sides of these veils, and it's true. There is always truth sprinkled in because that's what makes the subversion or the persuasion or the misleading actually work, because you have to have some granularity of truth behind it. So, do these things exist? Do we really have a two-party government? Yes, we do. It's just the two-party system, when we've allowed it to, has been controlled by a uniparty, right? We're luckily in a state right now where we can actually do something about this, and that's what the last 10 years have been. And for for a lot of us on the political side of things, has been about exposing this one little area, because this one little area carried so much weight in terms um, of control over our society and these enablement of these things to continue, right? That we had to show that there was a way through this mess to some kind of hope, some kind of solution, at least some kind of way to stay off the impending, as it would seem, doom. These days, I have more of a broad view on that, in terms of like I'm not waiting for the end to come kind of thing. Like it's like this inevitable conclusion. I'm starting to believe the inevitable conclusion is more of a lure to keep the cycle going, right? Because you really don't need to control the world or have a one world government or have this one overarching thing that's highly problematic, right, to maintain and endure, when you can just put up the illusion of choice, right? You can just create the illusion. And I believe when we look at the fourth veil, right? We jump down here real quick. I believe when we look at the fourth veil, this is what we're seeing, right? This is what most people will look through the second veil and see. Oh yeah, see, these are the big cabals. These are the big guys. These are the ones that are this. But they end up like leaving themselves on this idea or this idea right here. Oops, I don't want to do that. Oops. This idea right here, the New World Order or the Illuminati or something like that, something completely out of their reach, right? So what's the solution they're going to give you when they leave you right there, right? Well, you don't hear them, do you? You don't really hear them. We're just a lot of talk, because they don't know what the solution is to this, right? They don't know how to get here to do something about it. And that's because when you're looking for these big organizations, this big silver bullet, right? Um, you don't stop doing that. There you go. You don't ever find a solution. You're kind of constantly looking for the members. You're looking for the targets, right? Well, the people that have the money and are putting the money behind things, we know their names, and some of them we know and some of them we don't, right? But there's definitely a owner class, right? A global owner class that's going on that is funding these big mechanisms, right? That is the power, the basically the funding of the illusions, right? The power behind the illusions that we see, right? And through that is the enablement of the cycle of abuse. So we will again, we're looking at things from a generational warfare perspective. We're looking at things from the perspective of this subversion, with the subversion filter, an understanding of how the human mind works, and also what the bad guys will be doing, right? To how mind control works. And I want to talk real quick about the word mind control. It can become across very offensive to people, because it enacts an idea or a feeling of being out of control of your life and your decisions, when those things feel very real, right? But as we should understand at this point, it's the way that the information is worked, that where we stand with our worldview, right? That enables these types of mind control tricks, if you will, to be pulled, right? So if you're in a we talked about Plato's cave last week. So if you're in a very narrow point of view, right, and you only know the world to be these shadows on the wall, then that is the way that you're going to perceive your information, and you're going to act on your information in accordance with that worldview. Same with the people in the second veil, right? They're going to take the same information and interpret it differently. I think Scott Adams had a good saying about this. Two movies, one screen. So we're both watching the same screen, but we're seeing two different movies. And I think that was a great analogy when it comes to like this first, second veil perspective, right? You know what a lot of you know what this is, because a lot of you aren't have entered into the second veil in terms of understanding that the first veil is at least a load of crap. There's a lot of stuff going on there that's not right. You feel it, you don't want to be part of it, you're out of it, you're on this side. And so now on this side you're trying to figure out, well, where do we go from here? What do we do? Who can we believe? What can we believe? And what are the solutions? And as you can see inside of these veils right here, there's no solutions. There's just more of the same. It's just more of the cycle that's continuing, right? And then though the big points may change and the terminologies may change, but the directions don't, right? It's still this cycle of abuse. And we're pointing out here weekly, is that the cycle of abuse is always targeted at the youngest generation. And then what happens is, after you come out of that first generational run, you're then put into the system somewhere, right? That's like you're assigned. You just naturally gravitate to where you fall, right? Some people are doing well in the first veil, and ignorance is bliss, or they don't have the capacities or the sophistications or the resources to understand that there's something outside of this bucket here. And then you have the other side that is has freed themselves, have a sense of freedom, see the ideas, see some of the bigger things that are going on in the world, and where they're coming from, right? But don't have any kind of other solutions outside of this, right? Because they don't understand how the mechanism is working quite yet. But they're closer, of course, than anybody over here. So it's just a matter of understanding, do we need to give credit to these conspiracy theories that were neatly laid out for us when we fell into this new realm of understanding, or is there something beyond this, right? Can we at least consider for a moment that perhaps the people who were smart enough to fund and put this stuff together, and this is a updated map, right? We can go back in time. In fact, it would be fun to do this, to go back 20 years and try to fill in the same kind of chart, right, with what would be around. Some things would stand true, right? Cults have been around for a very long time. Actually going to hopefully do oh, hey Chad, I'm looking at you now, by the way. I look over at my other screen, and where I've got the the mouse, and I'm doing all this stuff over here. And it's like, oh yeah, I gotta look over at chat. So hey Flair, how you doing? Welcome, glad you're here. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the suggestion. But can you make the page color different? Is not receptive black and white. Okay. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. I think I can. Can I? I don't know. I was just looking up there too, going, man, that's really, really bright. I like it. I would like a nice gray background, wouldn't you? Let's see. Can we do this? Uh, we'll try to figure it out. But thank you for the suggestion. That's a very great suggestion, by the way. I'll tell you what. Let me do this real quick. I can fiddle around with the settings and not worry about anything. Board settings. Oh, background color. Here we go. Oh, it is kind of light gray already. All right. So let me see. Board color. I need to make these stuff gray too, huh? All right. We're getting there. Anyways, yeah, I'll fix that up. I lost my flow there. That happens. Let me see. That is a good idea. I do want to make sure that you can see these things well. It's like the background of the frames for some reason don't want to go. I could work on this for next week and get it like looking a lot better. So hang with me this week. I made it a little bit better, but maybe the contrast will help a little bit. I'll try to scroll in more too. All right, let's get back. Let's get back on it. All right, there we go. So it's yeah, not that much better, but um, a little bit better. But I'll fix it up next week. I'll get these. I'll figure out how to get these changed in here. And oh, wait, is this it? Here we go. Oof. All right, we got it. We got it. That's a little bit better. It'll do for this week, right? Um, there we go. Coming around. All right, so we'll just deal with them as we get to them. Okay, so talking about understanding the nature of this cycle, right? And I think I was at cults as a byproduct and other things. These things have been around for a while. And I was saying that I'm going to do a show with Shizzy. Was not he's been doing shows about cults, and I caught a couple of them, and I believe we have some information we can exchange. And he seems to have a lot of background on the names and the actual cults and stuff. And I have a little app here that helps me with that stuff that someone one of the actually Jan Irving gave to me. It's really helpful, and so we're going to combine our heads with that. I'm going to talk a little bit about like where I think these come from. I think these are byproduct of this cycle of abuse, right? It's just this ongoing thing that's going to connect us back to this MK Ultra kind of legacy. I call it legacy because what it started out as and what it is today is two different things. And this name, this MK Ultra name, it seems to spawn like these other thoughts that I kind of want to avoid, and just kind of look at it as it is, like a big social experiment, and understanding what different types of situations could enact like a form of traumatic mind control, where someone could be willed into acting in very immoral ways. Let's put it that way. And so that's where that's going to go. So I hope you guys will be interested in that. We'll catch that when we do that together. So I'll save the cult part, and which does reflect into a lot of other things. I mean, I'll save that conversation for the stuff I do with him, but I'll promise you it'll be insightful, because there's more than just their traditional cults, right? Just like there's more than just their traditional idea of MK Ultra mind control kind of stuff, right? If you look at it as more like an idea than a thing, you kind of get where I'm coming from, right? Like you could have this one thing that happened at one point, but the ideas and the abilities and the directions that came off of that one point are many different things that now somewhat resemble it but aren't part of it in a traditional way, right? So that's what we're talking about. And so that's what we'll save that part for him, and that'll probably be a lot of this area right here. Um, but moving back into the idea of intention, right? Um, we understand that part of the manipulation process is to kind of put on a false front, like ground zero narcissistic kind of like clinical narcissistic patterns of behavior. They're always wearing a mask, right? They wear the mask to fool the world, and then they take it off to destroy you. So, and then only the person being destroyed knows the mask is there, and that's part of the whole game they play. Yeah, we've talked about that in other parts of the series that I've done, but early parts. But just to kind of go back and just address that real quick, we understand that's what that means. That that the narcissist does wear the mask, right? And that's the whole gimmick that they play. So this as above, so below, micro macro type of world we live in, that we can see that this tendency is reflected in a lot more than just the clinical narcissist behavior. It becomes ingrained in the system through the cycle of abuse. It becomes normalized, really, is what it is. And that's the problem with this cycle of abuse. It's become so normalized that we don't see it anymore. That's why it's listed here as part of the veils of perception, is because we see it. We've been part of it. It's been around us our whole lives. We hear about it, but we don't put it in, and we don't tend to put it in perspective of being this bigger system. So if we look at the results, the way we look at the results, right? Um, oh, no problem, lady. No problem at all. Hey, well, it's a good idea. I've been wanting to do it. I'm big on color coding and all that stuff like that. So just as we keep going here, and I get more used to the flow of doing the show and the tech show and the shows that we have on board right now, um, it'll get better. And I'm a real jazz player in terms of how I do things. I'm a real improv player, right? I like jam band music, but I like to improv and create the art on the spot. A lot of times, I'm getting off on a little tangent here, but a lot of the videos you guys see me make and stuff, I don't go in with any kind of plan. Like I'm just really, it's really just like my logo, like my my face here. Oh, should I be up here on the board? Hello. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I wasn't here. It makes it smaller though when I do that. What's wrong with my audio? What's wrong with my audio? What's up with it? Is it low? Is it crackly? Is it? Help me out. Yeah, I scroll in and out. T3, talk to me. What you got? What you got? Do I have to look at my I should leave open my Discord. Fix your audio. It's going in and out. I hope that's not me. Let's see. Let me know if it keeps up, right? It might have just been me moving. I'm muffled. Okay. Let me see. Careful placement. I'm using my headset mic. I almost pulled out the other mic and let's see where we at. Is this better? Or does it still go in and out? I just need to go back to my other mic. But see, this one I feel like I have more. I don't know. I'll just go back. Next week I'll go back to the other one. Is this better? Let me know. Let me know. Um, is that better? Okay. Thanks. Let's go with it for now. All right. Where was I at? I need to remember to always leave a note when I when I do that. When I stop, get my notepad out. All right, there it is. This helps if I just remember to do that. If I leave it highlighted wherever I am, I gotta do that too. All right, so I think what I was saying was we see the cycle of abuse, we hear about it, we know the words, we're becoming more aware of it thanks to the trials of Johnny Depp and others. I'm sure that hopefully will lead to more enlightenment about how these people operate, because that trial was a clinic on how a really enabled female narcissist will destroy a man. And it's just it's something that we don't know about. So think about it in terms of this. Did you know that kind of stuff existed before that trial? That's kind of was a kind of a veiled thing. I think some people knew about it. Of course, everybody who had been through it knows about it, right? But it was a very veiled thing. So that veil lifted for a lot of people. And I think that yeah, we could even add that to the list, because that would be somewhere in this area, right? So let's just take this and go. Let's just add Me Too in there. That's a great example of something that was supposed to be started for a good reason that was completely co-opted and taken into a very bad direction. Uh, let's say it's kind of right in here. Let's just put it right here. All right. Yeah, see that immediately co-opted, right? It didn't take very long for that one to become the nesting ground for the female narcissistic abusers, because they saw the opportunity to get a free pass on accountability, right? And to realize that their narrative of their generation has been not that a man see the way that it should be structured is this. I think that this is kind of the original way it was said. It was like a gentleman never hits a lady and a lady never hits anyone, right? And instead of learning that, they learned that boys just can't hit girls. And so they became very empowered with this, and that's just a give a narcissist an excuse to inflict pain, and have cover for it. And then you got what happened with Amber Heard and so on. This goes both ways. There's the men that do the same amount of damage, and this again enablement of this cycle of abuse, right? If we see it as a bigger problem, maybe like this underlying problem that pushes out people into these roles of abusers, victims, survivors, and I would say I wouldn't say activists, but I would say people who stand against it, right? So they become activists. I guess activist is the best word for right now, but they become activists in the cause, right, to stop it. And that's where you get into our friends over in the troubled teen industry, right? And what's going on with them. So we met Mark Babbitts, we met Jeff Block, and we had a bunch of Elon survivors come and join us in chat, right, when we were covering Elon, and that became so critical in this whole journey. Like people tend to question why things happen sometimes. It's like it's then keeping that inner faith, man, keeping that inner faith. You know, good or bad, right or wrong, whatever's happening right now, it's for the best later, whether I can see it or not. So all that stuff with going down the the course in order to learn this information led us to understanding so much more about this. Like that was a veiled thing too. How many people would have known about Elon if it wasn't for this whole journey we've been on, right? I wouldn't have, and I wouldn't have been able to see that this is very much a very much cared for and protected industry right here. It's very much highly funded, and there's a lot of vigilant defense of keeping these type of schools or types of institutions in power and in play. Like this is not a clean slate right here. This is still wide open. Like in fact, we will have more about it as time goes on, but it's still wide open. Like Elon schools still exist, and why is that line there? I don't know why that line's there. All right. Anyways, but they still exist, and they're still going to persist. And if we don't keep our eye on it, like that, that's what Mark and all those guys are trying to let us know. If we don't keep our eye on it, it's just going to reemerge in a different form. And these troubled teen industry facilities are highly tied to cultic activities as well, believe it or not. And the drug culture, right? These two things are just filling up. They're very interested in the troubled teen industry, and they're filling it up. Again, the cycle of abuse, right? So we get into this should be kind of like over here, shouldn't it? I'm thinking this should be like kind of like, oh, yeah, this should probably be right here. Drug cartels should be on this side of the line. Drug trafficking should be on this side of the line. There we go. Let's do that. Two parts of the same thing, right? But all right. So because the drug cartels are like they're running the money, they're laundering the money, they're doing things like that. They're definitely part of the funding of the Illusions group, and their lackeys are part of the and the results are part of the cycle of abuse because they do some nasty stuff and they enable some nasty stuff, right? They enable a lot of death, a lot of victimhood, a lot of enablement of crime, all comes through these guys. So that's what we're talking about when we're looking through these veils, right? We're trying to see the root cause, right? We're trying to understand what's behind everything. In order to do that, we need to understand where things lie, how they became, where they're at, and what their purpose is, and then what's behind that. So this is what this whole thing is. This is how I tend to look at the world and try to figure it out, is by putting things in this perception, right? Perspective. Now I did get the idea of the veils of perception from another thing that I saw like probably 10, 15 years ago. I've been looking for it, but it was very much done from I would say a Christian activist perspective, maybe. I mean, their end thing was like, God versus devil. So I think we can realize that same battle, if you will, but I think in more, I would say, tangible ways, like ways that we could put our mind around it better. And of course, people can see it for what they want to see it as. The bottom line is intention is everything, right? So the intention behind a satanic force or a godly force, right, is good and evil. So you kind of see where this is going when we get down here a little bit more. But I'm not. I'm going to kind of keep those where they're at right now so we can focus. Because what we want to understand is where to go from here, right? Where to go from here. And the lessons that we were trying to pick up from what we're seeing here is the pattern of this generational warfare, this generational grooming of people into their, I say generational grooming, generational warfare, however you want to look at it, is each generation is being groomed with certain type of information, with certain type of information that's going to affect the future, change the culture, subvert the young, change the culture. That's abuse the young, break the future, right? And then this pattern ensures the cycle of corruption continues itself, and this whole quagmire of issues that keep us kind of stagnated and busy in these areas is the enablement to keep these people right where they want to be. And I've kind of added these little areas down here. I don't know if they're 100% accurate yet, but I've just put them down there to kind of like give us some guidance, right? So I look at it like this. In the first veil, this is all about manufacturing your consent for the establishment narrative, right? If you don't fall for that, or if you remove your consent for that, right? You start to peer into this world, and eventually you're walking in this world, but you're still seeing through, right? Remember how this works. It's like you're here, right? And then you just start to see through the veils, right? You're still there. You're still around this stuff. Didn't go away, right? You're still seeing it every day. It's just you have a different perspective on it now because now you're seeing further and further down the road into more and more of what makes these things happen and where the ideas are coming from, where the material is coming from, where the resources are coming from, right? So as we stare down further, we start to see more and more about what's within our control, and then we can maybe understand that a little bit better by looking beyond to the bigger ideas and the bigger energies that are pushing out what ends up being constructed as the reality we live in, right? So that gets a little bit more complicated. We won't go too far into that right now because we need to just get a good grasp on where we're at and what we're doing here, right? So anyway, so as we're looking over here, right, and we're trying to move towards a solution culture, which we'll always talk about. So I got some more stuff added to that this week. We are we're now looking at both of these veils, right? 1 and 2. We're looking at both these veils as a result or as a an ongoing kind of automated system powered by the cycle of abuse, right? So the way you test this is that you can just take this take the cycle of abuse out, right? And then see how many of these things are going to last. One, what do you consider abuse? And like some people would think, okay, the immediate archetype, right? The immediate archetype most people get when you say the word abuse, and I'm probably just killing my channel as I say it over and over again. But what are you supposed to do, right? You gotta communicate. The censorship, that's bad, right? Censorship, we know, it's control of language. So we can't tolerate that, right? We have to do something. So I think the solution is like to say what you got to say, reach as many people as you can, and find other ways to monetize yourself on or outside of your channel. Let's put it that way. So anyways, the immediate vision people get, the immediate archetype people really generally think of when they think of abuse, unless you're a survivor, is a physical abuse. Maybe a man smacking a woman is something you see in your head, or some kind of like 1950s wife beater scene. Depends on your generation. What do you guys see? Let me look over here to the chat and see what you guys are saying. Sorry for the delay here. So the move was lopsided. At the beginning, it started this trap where crime and innocence don't stand a chance against mob mentality and the big group think. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it never should have gotten traction at all. No, it's not fair. And that's that's the problem is that I think that a lot of strong women didn't know that they needed to start standing up more for in these areas, and kind of like just like a lot of other people, um, getting just get into that mentality of dealing with their lives day in and day out, and it's hard to sometimes to see how important something is and when it needs to be jumped on if you're not in that solution mindset already. Solution mindset is like, being at the ready almost. It's like, when is the next opportunity going to arrive, and what will I do in that opportunity? But I tell you what, a lot of the solutions we're going to talk about when it comes to first fail problems like division and sexism and so on really turns down to the person that is the focus of it, standing up to be the hero, right? And in this case, you think that, think about Camille Vasquez, right? Like, she had a million men fall in love with her in one moment because she just completely destroyed Amber Heard, and now she's like Wonder Woman up there, right? And that's the Wonder Woman that men need really bad right now. That someone that can step in against these really vicious narcissists that have gotten control of the narrative here and have gotten in bed with the narrative, to show them they're not so tough, right? Show them that there are bigger, badder, and more powerful women out there that are gonna get in their face and push them back when they try to come after the men. And the same way the men have been doing to the men have come after the women, right? You see it in both cases. We need each other. And so I think that this is a great time in the world where that is starting to become realized. So we need to make sure that we continue to emphasize that and to continue to play our parts in that. Strong women like Shelley, could stand up and back down on some bitch like Amber Heard, no problem, right? So that's the kind of people that we need out there, standing in front. And say with the racism, right? I've always said that the fastest way to end racism is for Black people to stand against the whites that are perpetuating it. And I'm not talking about the KKK or those guys. I'm talking about the ones that are treating them like the victims. They're telling them that they're the victims. That are telling them, they're just mouthpieces for the same establishment that drove the division in the first place, right? So how powerful would it be when it's just a wall of base Black folks facing off against the woke mob, going, "Y'all shut up." They're going to be quiet real fast. I mean, they're not going to have anywhere to go with that. But it's amazing how many times that's the answer, right? It's that the one that was the original target ends up being the hero in the end. Not the victim. It just reverses the whole triangularity of the system, and that see, it's easy for people to step. I'm sorry, and it's so easy for people to step forward and just lie because evidence is just a technicality. They don't let logic stop them from advancing on ruining a person. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why understanding and being enlightened on the trivium and making the trivium part of our culture again is so important. Understanding logical fallacies, understanding when to give something attention. A lot of times we let bad conversations go on for entertainment value or because we have some kind of weird idea about what freedom of speech is or something like that. I don't know. It's just like I noticed that really sometimes in good situations, really harmful conversations are allowed to persist and dominate without considering the fact that they could be misleading people in a very bad way. And I pull back the example of my friend who I showed the Biden. I showed the Biden 1 hour grope fest of Biden at taking pictures with children, and how that changed his world view like immediately, and without even knowing it or being aware of it, he went off, and before you know it, he was inside the freaking Capitol. So, I'm very aware about it can work both ways, and that's why I'm kind of careful about how I go about talking about things and setting them up. Like, I don't want to um, ever enable someone to go too far or to make the wrong decision or to have a bad idea and let it linger and let something come of that. So that's why I'm really careful, and that's why I'm the first one who's willing to change my mind when I'm wrong or adjust my thinking when I need to, because I'd rather know the truth than be right. That's our big saying around here. Right there it is. That's the number one in solution culture, is having this mindset. I'd rather know the truth than be right. Right, knowing the fallacies to avoid, right, and then all the actions that we can take, all the things that we're talking about as we go along. So I've added a few things to solution culture this week that I've been meaning to want to put in there. So one is like, I believe that we need to be teaching kids about media information, and I'm going to go ahead and say technology now, because it's so much a part of what it is. So these should be coming up front. Like, honestly, right now, take all that gender identity BS out of there, because that's bullshit anyways, and put these two guys in there. Like, I think these two, they're a little bit outside the normal kind of educational realm. That's why I have this one down here, because I think it's just a step above like the basics. But maybe it should be like more like this. Maybe it should be a little bit more like this. Part of me just hates to ruin the, get in there and I guess it's going to happen anyways. But it's like, tell them that learning about this stuff does learn about their nasty part of the world. But for some kids, they're already going through it. So, I think I would say there's more kids going through this than gender issues right now. Absolutely, 100%. And the fact that we don't let these type of things come first before these rare cases that should be rare cases of dysphoria coming up, right? Can we see that all right? Okay, there we go. Yeah, so that we don't put these things in their place, and these aren't already there, like walking hand in hand with their full gender thing. It's ridiculous. And look at how many other things we've already taken off the plate. We're not teaching them about logic and how information is truly constructed. We're not following the model that's set up by geniuses way back on how the human mind works and the correct way to learn things, right? We're not giving them the real history. We're giving them a manufactured CRT version of history, not the history like Thomas Sowell puts out there. If you guys do not know who Thomas Sowell is, please take some time to get to know him. He's a brilliant man who knows history, the real history well, and he's out there trying to make a difference right now. So please support him and listen to his stuff, because it's really good. It'll enlighten you on a lot of things. I put Ron Paul Philosophy of Liberty because I don't think that anybody's come along in my lifetime and done a better job at describing it and getting people interested and excited about it again. He may not have been president. He may have never was going to be president, but he did his job. He reignited this fire like Jan Irvin did with trivium education, and Thomas Sowell is doing with real history. So that's why I listed names, right? So that we understand it, have a root kind of thing. But yeah, this is like, I did this already. I've already done this. Like I did this day one. I was like, well, if no one else is going to do it, I'm going to do it. So yeah, this has already been done here in the house, and so is this. So actually, all these things, probably a little bit more emphasis need to be put on these, but they will as time goes on. So yeah, that's some of the new stuff I added to the social culture list. Let me look over here and see what you guys are talking about. I got to fix my screen, so I'm looking at chat at the same time as I'm doing this. Minor improvements every week. Remember the promise, minor improvements every week. Okay, let's see. Okay, abusive ass hats. Oh, Susie, take it off. Good night, Susie. Good night, Suzanne. I didn't realize she was leaving. Hope you feel better. Thank you guys for seeing her off. By the way, I was busy running my mouth. Abusive ass hats are mostly covert pretending to be victims whilst they are abusing others behind closed doors. Yeah, that's the rigged game. That's the rigged game. The target narrative is the victim narrative. See, that's the way they do it. They create their victim narrative off the abuse they give to the target. So the target narrative, right, is the one that they're going to adopt, and they're going to say is them. But it's really just a diary of what they've done to the other person. That's part of the rigged game. So you're nailing that, Tweety. You're on top of that. All across America and the Western world at the same time, coincidentally. I missed that one. What's it? I don't know. Okay. Facts are fuckery. They can definitely do that. There's less white supremacy than ever. There's 3 times as many black supremacy groups, but yeah, it's white crystal nationalists. I don't know. I mean, I think everybody gets grouped into these groups, right? And at some level, it becomes like it's this, right? So I touched on this earlier. I said I wouldn't go too far into it, but it's right there, right? It's the cults. And the cults could be many different things. They don't have to be religious. They don't have to always be religious. They don't always have to be committal. They don't always have to involve money. There's a what do you think? The cult of personality, right? There's the cult of ideas, right? An idea, and it's just so like maybe like slightly advanced tribalism, in other groups, but they get behind an idea and a routine and a way. People get comfortable and they kind of hang on to it. It can seem cultish, right? In fact, I saved these pictures, but I have breaking news pictures. I have breaking news. I have actual recent photos from a pagan ritual. That's right. I got them. Exclusive on-site photos. So I don't know when I'm going to show those, right? But I have a pagan blood sacrifice ritual, right? And you've probably heard of some of these things, right? But I happen to have gotten my hands on some photos of a recent event, and I'm going to show it off. And I think I'm going to show it. I was going to show it off when me and Wizzy, Shizzy talk about this, the cults and so whatnot. But if that doesn't happen soon enough, then I'll break it out. I'll break them out. But I do have to do a little bit of editing on this and take out some names and some eyes and stuff like that. Do a little redacting, just to be nice. But anyways, yeah. So breaking news on that. The supremacy groups, man. These again are borderline, like they come in this division line, right? They're borderline useful idiots. The borderline activists, right? The borderline cultish, and they got a little bit of all that mixed in, right? There's some religion mixed in. There's some definitely some steering mixed in, right? And there's some activism mixed in there, and all fronts. And that's the way it works. I mean, how many people were shouting at the top of their lungs? Well, BLM is going to lead to more, more white racism, right? Some more racism. It'll make more racist, right? Than it'll solve, because you cannot solve racism with racism. You cannot solve inequality with inequality. You cannot, we know these things. You can't solve a negative with a negative, of course, right? This is what I'm not thinking of any right now. Okay, Mike, what else you got? Anyone with half a brain can see what all this CRT woke BS is ultimately about. White people are bad, which is obviously yeah. Okay, I hear you, brother. I hear you. I agree with you. That's what it's all about, for sure, because it's all about division. It's all about keeping that divide there, right? And so when you think about where CRT comes from, and it's ingrained into our educational system, so it's like right here along this line. It probably can move back a little bit further. All these probably can. It's probably a better way to arrange this, but for right now, let's just say, hey, this is on the same level with all these guys. It's right here with education, and we'll leave it at that. Let's see. I think we can get into some of this like that. All right, so yeah, so the CRT, right? So, but where does that come from, right? So the funding, schools, universities, it came into the universities. We know that from just like general information now at this point, general knowledge. Right? So we kind of scroll back here. The whole idea, like you've said right here, it's ultimately about an attack on one type of person, right? Which is abuse, right? It's a form of abuse. So here we are again. Look, it's again part of the cycle of abuse. So when you have this abusive actions happen to children, right? Ideally, what they're trying to do, they're trying to alter and strip identities. That's really what this stuff and this stuff's about. It's all about stripping identities. Whereas some of this other stuff is about confusing identities. It's about stripping your identity, right? You're not just free loving, free innocent love and light that you think you are, a little girl, a little boy. No, you're this monster. You're just this young form of a monster that has done all these terrible things. And these people over here, these poor innocent victims, man, you're forever in their debt, and you will always be this thing, right? You no longer the happy little light that you were born, being told how wonderful and cute and awesome you are, right? Right? All the love and hugs and kisses and everything, right? They get out there and tell you, oh yeah, you didn't deserve any of that. Oh yeah, you're not that, right? You're not that. That's what it's about, right? So you're nailing it. Of course it is, but it's not the other side doing it. That's what I've been talking about with the racism part. It's not, in my opinion, it's not the other side doing it. It's the establishment doing it, and really it tears all the way back over here to elitism. But we'll get to that eventually, just to kind of let you know where I'm coming from on that. And so, of course, the solution in hand is one, Robert Soule, Real History. That points the finger back at who it deserves to go to. And that's this group right here. That's this group right here. They're the ones who've been funding the illusion. They fund the good illusions and the bad illusions. All the illusions. All the illusions. Someone's paying for it. Someone came up with it. Someone had the time to come up with all this shit, right? Some of it's natural, of course. Some of it's organic, but that's just as a result, as a symptom of the bigger issue. So, again, as you look into the root of these things, right? They're all abusive actions. There's all these things are abusive actions that are taking place that form these other parts, right? And Hollywood, the archetypes that they put out, and the way that they use music and juxtaposition and pose and theatrics and cinematics and all that stuff to impress emotionally on people these ideas about how things are in the world. And some of it's just coming from the idea of this is what I believe, and now I'm the one making it, right? To more sinister things where you got a little bit of agency involvement here and there. I don't think it's like everything all the time. I think a lot of it is just, again, the conspiracy of an idea, right? The conspiracy of an idea where people were subverted as young to change the culture, right? Doesn't take a lot of organization when you're using subversion and mind control. It did, it's just a matter of keeping the system alive, keeping the system enabled, right? And that's what we're looking at here. The system that most of us live in, this world right here, this duality, this paradigm between the establishment and the anti-establishment narratives, right? Or is where we are. Most people want you to think that we live right here, right? That we live in this left-right paradigm. Well, it's the Democrats versus the Republicans, and the Republicans don't know, and the Democrats are all corrupt, and da 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 da. Is that another one of those weird lines that's sticking in there? All right. So most people, then that's where you start off, right? That's why this was such an important thing to blow up early on in the whole, people starting to wake up, not be woke, awake. Remember, we're too awake to be woke, right? But that was why it was such a big thing, because there were people that would never have dreamed of voting for Republican just because they had learned in college, that's where the bad guys are all at. They don't care about the little people. And if you have any kind of virtues, man, you care about these people. You care about social justice and all that other stuff, right? You want to be free and have your energy clear, for the new age, man, or whatever the hell that someone's trying to sell you, right? They stay right here. These guys, they're right here. They still think this is real. They think that when they call themselves an independent but vote left, that they're not with the establishment. Oh, it just depends on where the anti-establishment is at the time. I told people in hell, I would, if the anti-establishment was firmly on the left, I mean, what choice would I have? I would have to go with that, because that would be the only way to break this. But unfortunately, they co-opted that side. That side's way gone. But that's okay. That's some people will wake up to that eventually. Some people have. But what's important is when they do wake up to that they don't fall over here and into one of these guys' laps, right? That they don't fall into one of these groups, right? And end up doing things they shouldn't do, right? Or any of these other things that are out there, right? They're just dead ends. There's no solutions in these groups. If you can name any solutions coming out of these groups, let me know. Please put them in the chat. I'm watching, because they don't have any. And there's a reason why, because it's all about living in fear, waiting for the end to come. Like I said, 10 years of waiting for the end to come, waiting for the dollar to collapse, ready to bust out in a moment's notice to protect my son and his life, right? From these roving mobs of starving people without their medicine. Oh yeah, do you guys ever think about that? What would happen if the supply chain shut down to all these people that are on SSRI inhibitors? right? Talk about a psychotic break where hundreds of people can't get their medicine and they're coming off of these things and they're flipping out, and all this, like the conditions we put them in and all the things that they've gone through in their life, and in the middle of a crisis where there's no food. Oh, that just sounds like heavenly, doesn't it? Let me hide this comment. Um, let me read back. Okay, got this. True victims don't volunteer their experiences. No, but survivors do, Tweety. Survivors do. And there's a reason for that. It's because they know what it was like. They know what it was like when they were victims. And they understand that it's very confusing and very isolating. And so the reason why survivors speak out, well, thanks to Johnny Depp, a lot more can now. I mean, look at the bravery that dude went through, and how much money he had to put into just getting the goddamn truth out. People are been shamed into not talking about their experiences. People come out of it not sure about everything. It takes years and years and years and years to kind of work it out. I just hope that none of y'all that haven't been through it ever have to go through it. But I would say take lessons from people like me and T3, and keep your guard up and don't think it can't happen to you, right? Because as soon as that love bug goes off, you're in la la land for a while, and that's even the best of us that have the most keenest eye for that stuff, could get sucked into it. I don't feel that, as much as I know, that it couldn't happen again. So I would just know to get out faster, and I wouldn't be locked in like I was before. That would be more of my preventative maintenance than actual avoidance. Because it might just be up to someone's challenge though to try to do that again. That's like that. They might think it would be fun to do that to me, So, but like I said, I would detect it a lot earlier, and I wouldn't stick around very long. Victims that you do volunteers. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. See, that's the whole thing. Is like, there's the it's all good. It's all good, by the way. We're going to work this out. But the victim is someone that's still experiencing it, right? This is the way I define it, I guess. And this is the way I feel like it's been defined for me in terms of the groups and stuff, right? A survivor is someone who's come out of it, right? Understands what happened and is in the process or has completed the steps to like really regain themselves, their lives, and normality. And they live in acceptance about the whole thing. Victims don't necessarily live in acceptance all the time. Victims don't necessarily know what's going on all the time or have worked it out all the time. They're still in the process of unvictimizing themselves. They still may have things that bring them right back to it. It's hard to say because it's so individual. But in terms of the terminology, victim is generally someone who's still experiencing the abuse on some level, if not full on. And the survivor is someone who's fully, completely out of it and is in the process, is in full knowledge in the process of healing or has healed, is aware of what the abuse was, why, they have a lot more information. So hopefully that helped clear some of it up. Let's see. Yes, there's a big difference. Yes, it's a big step. There will be different people. There'll be well-fed ones telling you what to do. Yeah, right. Yeah, stripping down identities is their way of control. Absolutely. Making mindless drones is the ultimate goal. Well, I mean, that's just part of the shotgun approach, right? Like, it's like the mindless drones part of it is part of the abuse, right? It's the school system. So we call it mindless drones. Generationally, we see how it's going. We see what's been taken away, what's been put in. Generationally, we can see where the experiments have gone in one direction or another. So again, you're dealing with a human species, right? You're dealing with a range of IQs, a range of experiences, a range of conditions, a range of everything. And then you have the environmental aspects of it too. Where are you living? What's going on there? And so on and so forth. It's all things. It's so wide of a spectrum, wide of a net to cast, that it's a shotgun approach. I mean, they figure out people are going to fall into these different buckets, right? They're going to be some people, 50% of these people are going to be are going to be good little mindless drones, right? And 50% are not going to be. 50% are going to fall out of that, right? So you have this divide here. And that's kind of what we're talking about, is that, yeah, these people really do understand that they want to make mindless rooms out of us. They see everything that's going on here, right? And they may have their takes on it, whatever it may be, right? But they see it. That's why they're here. That's why we're here. I've spent years here, years, decade, more. Not necessarily buying into there, but being in this realm because there was nowhere else to really go from here. It's like I said, you run into this wall at the second veil, and you're wondering what more is there, right? The only way you kind of get out of that is when you say, well, okay, maybe these things are about as real as these things are. Seems like the same people are pumping money into them. Seems like the same structures are holding them up, you know. So that's why we take a step back and look at it like this. Is that another arrow? We got these random arrows just everywhere. Oh, is that okay? Turn it sideways. All right. So that's kind of what I'm getting at. And yeah, ultimate goal. That's again the funding of abuse, right? They have the big pharma, they have the institutional psychology, and the cycle of abuse. Of course, they have the drug cartels that did bring the drugs in to create the drug culture, right? That spans all this area right in here. And I should spread it out all the way across because drug culture is like really this big, right? It's in everything. And then you have this like, you have the monetary control, the market control that's affected people, the prices of things, how much the money's worth, how much your labor's worth. All these different control factors are down here too. And there's a lot more that will be added into this area, by the way. None of this is complete. It's always a work in progress. But as we go, we'll find more things to put in this area and so on. But all the money and all the ideas are coming out of this area, right? That kind of fund the rest of the stuff. And the reason why I kind of harp on the fact that these things are more lure than real is that what did this do? Is because you see, when you make these big scary stories about yourself, it keeps people living in fear. Like I said, the people in this veil don't have any solutions, right? Vote. Okay, vote. You could have got that solution over here. Vote for the guy, right? Actually, it's what we do that's going to help that vote matter more on our end. Like our vote can matter a little bit or a lot, right? All of us here should know to vote anti-establishment. I mean, let me get this off the screen. No matter what, I mean, never side with the establishment. Never lay down with. There's no lesser of two evils. There's only evil, right? There's no less corrupt. There's only corrupt. Get this control of language out of your mind, where they start telling you that it's all these other things, right? No, it is what it is. That's the one thing we should always remember. It is what it is. Sometimes we forget that. It's just like, oh, you know what? By the end of the day, does it fit into the cycle of abuse? Well, there you go, right? It kind of helps you kind of like figure this stuff out a little bit better when you kind of see what is the thing that keeps filling these seats generation after generation, right? It's this ongoing cycle of abuse that's enabled, man, and then also propped up, and that goes through all these different little groups and systems. Of course, a lot more of it going on here, and a lot. It's overt in this area. It's very covert in this area, right? So a lot more of the harsher things that go on that are veiled from most people, and like just knowing this little aspect of it, like the troll online gang stalker, for what it's worth, right? Just knowing this little aspect exists, right? Most people don't get it. They hear the word troll and they think, oh, smart ass, some smart ass disagrees with me, right? They don't understand that there's a whole like village of people that are very very bored and very misled, and I think that they are at war with everybody on the internet, and that they got to do something drastic about it at all points, bringing the real life into the internet world, not allowing people to actually utilize the internet in a anonymous forum, right? They don't like that. They want everybody to be able to go to your house and give you a hard time. The that's their way of like dealing with their fear and staying in control. But in actuality, what all they're doing is destabilizing things, causing division, and they're basically just part of the manufacturer distraction industry, right? Let's all focus on this. They're going to do this. They're going to do it. They'll do whatever they want. I mean, it's just like ideas roll out, right? So just assign the new idea to the bad guys, and then you got to grift on. Now, is there something a little bit of truth in everything? Sure, right? Is there? Someone asked me last week. I think it was TR. Is there? You say there's not banking cabals? Of course there are. Yeah, I'm just saying that they're. Man, I want to just move the map. There we go. Okay. Of course there are. Right? There's super PACs and NGOs, and there's money laundering. There's a money. I guess we could probably add that. There's this great money laundering system that's underneath it all. Um, where they let's just put money laundering. Shoot, I spell it wrong. Hard did I spell it wrong? Okay. Yeah. So yeah, there's this, right? There's lots of that as well, right? So yes, of course there is. But are they are they fueled by the Antichrist, and are they are they having this dystopian future written by George Orwell? Is that their game plan? Um, maybe not. Maybe that's just part of the lore, right? Maybe it's just it's part of as much of the lore as the Galactic Federation of Light is watching us so we can evolve into the fourth and fifth dimensions. Doesn't it sound like fun? Right? So all we have to do is sit still and not do anything and just go along with the program, and magically it'll happen. They'll come and they'll save us before we destroy the planet, as long as we're ready to evolve with them. Right? It's always something. It's always something with those guys. This Pleiadians. Oh geez. So we go back to the chat here for a minute. Where I'm gonna mark down where I left off. I was talking about the okay, yeah. So yeah, do these things exist? Yeah, but is the lore behind them credible, right? And and when I talk about credible, right? I'm talking about credible. Like, who are you hearing this stuff from? Oh, it's a whistleblower. It's this and that. I got this dude. Take my word for it, right? Yeah. You're just some dude on the internet. At least you were at one time. I'm not talking about anybody in particular here, but there's a ton, there's dozens and hundreds of these guys out there. I mean, I could talk about these disclosure project grifters all day long, these ancient alien grifters all day long, in coordination with, you know, coordination with Hollywood, or the, what do you want to call it, the entertainment industry, right? I guess we should. That's movies. Let's say, what we say, I guess they're all Hollywood, but entertainment industry, because they do a lot of stuff in Atlanta now. Entertainment industry, right? These guys all, they go ahead and put Ancient Aliens on the History Channel, so everybody thinks it's history. And they got people thinking that aliens need a freaking concrete run or a stone runway, half a mile long to land their UFOs. See, look, they'll tell you. And like when you go back and watch Ancient Aliens, I swear to God, have you ever bought into any of that stuff? You'll hear people say, "Yeah, they have their precision 90-degree angle cuts, man, that no human could ever make." You go look at those things; they're not 90-degree angle cuts. It's just a sleight of hand. It's just the poof, man. It's the magic. Um, but yeah, it's Hollywood for you, right? Wave the magic, Hollywood. Um, okay, so let me go over to the chat. So we're talking about the aliens too. Right. This help me remind me where I'm at. Okay, entertainment. Yeah, the conspiratainment, man, the conspiratainment world. All right, so let me go back up here and see. Thank you for so much of the activity in the chat tonight, by the way. It's been great. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate all the likes, and I appreciate it, you guys all being here and being part of this. Okay. I think that the survivor victims have got worked out in the chat very well. Let's see. People aren't psychic, but they can notice patterns. That's true. Be surprised, but active psychic, Hollywood psychic, no. And pattern that recognition, yes. Like, and the better you are at that, the more you see. Um, you can definitely learn to identify that in yourself, I would say. I didn't realize, a long time ago that I had some of the skills I had. A lot of them were buried. Had I known some of the stuff earlier, definitely would have changed my life. And but again, I wouldn't want it changed. It sounds weird, doesn't it? Like I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change anything because if I did, I might not have my son. So you got to give up things to change things, right? One little step the wrong way. I don't go to this school. I don't go to that school. Who knows, man? Everything's different. Everything changes. That butterfly effect, man. That butterfly effect. I believe if you were to go back in time and you had to stay in the same timeline, that butterfly effect would be pretty damn real. So I definitely don't. That's what it reminds me to be thankful and grateful for what I have. Like I think when I have those thoughts, I immediately think, I'm gonna go back and say thanks real quick because, I am grateful and thankful for what I have. All the warts and all, like all the things, all the bad things and all the good things put together. It's okay. It's the balance, man. It's the balance that makes life understandable, right? In our 3D universe, right? It's the things that it was my free will realized, it was seeking balance. It was the benefits and consequences of life, and it was all those things that make reality happen. And we should add some more of those too as we go along. Oh, I had this thing that I caught. I've been doing some of these graphs on my iPad too, but I can't have it transferred over yet. But I did have this thing. I might save it for next time. Let me see if it applies right here. Yeah, it's about I had this video and I had this interaction with this woman who felt compelled to confront a man because she always saw his daughter wearing pink, right? So she went and knocked on his door and had a conversation with him. And I wanted to break down like what triggered that woman to become that mouthpiece, that voice to go intrude in this man's space and to try to dictate his reality to him. So I'm going to save that for next week, but just a little preview there that's what that's going to be about. So I'll try to work it into. Actually, I do want to work into triggers, man. Like triggers are key. We could probably spend a whole episode on just triggers. Like how do triggers work? Why are they important? And how do they work into like the MK Ultra legacy as well as the media, corporate media, social media, and the entertainment industry, right? How all these things, music industry too, all these things work together to form this trigger bank for people, right? And depending on what narrative you live in, like what value you live in, um, how those triggers work, right? What triggers one group, what triggers the other group. We'll break those down because that's a key thing to understand. And you can get a lot of self growth out of that and a lot of understanding about others through that as well. So that's what we're all about right here on Unveiling Reality. That's for sure. And I just got a little fly there. Okay. Where am I at here? We got that worked out. Anything, any place, noticing patterns is all part of their game. Perhaps uh, continuously or perhaps unconsciously. Just perhaps that. How come I can't pronounce that word? Consistently. All right. Yeah. Well, of course. Well, it's really this, right? It's really what they work on is this institutional psychology, which is an ongoing thing that they've been doing for a long time. And they say they, right? The people in knowledge. They'll get into this term, right? I'm gonna go ahead and put this on the board. Um, I'm trying to figure out where to put it. I almost want to put it, nah, because they don't know crap about occulted knowledge. It's like they say this is the occulted knowledge. It's the secret number patterns and all that stuff. That what do you get out of that? There's nothing there. Oh, then we can predict dates. Okay, go ahead, predict dates. It's not a solution. Right? It's not a solution. But occulted knowledge, right? So this occulted knowledge, I hate using that word. Just knowledge. I'll just do it because we need to break ourselves from that. It's occulted knowledge. It's not that occulted. It's not. This is what we're doing right here. We're learning the occulted knowledge, right? It's not. It didn't come from the Freemasons or any kind of like secret society. I guess I should put like a little secret society thing in here too. But that secret society stuff is, while it's true, it's we don't know to what degree, right? I think a lot of the lore is blown up for effect, and also that rich billionaires do stupid, weird stuff because they're rich billionaires and they live in a different way than we do. But they don't want to go to a concert and drink and party like that, right? They want to go own a place or they want to go do weird things. It's just they're bored. They've done it all. They can have it all. They can have the same band that you went and paid $70 to go general admission to go see. They can just have them play at their house. It's just that kind of thing. So the secret societies, I hate to bring these up because they while they do exist, they're more like clubs, right? But they the elites tend to have these, like, I think of the elites as a secret society of their own, right? So it's more like this, right? It's more like a combination of these things where they are the secret society, and the different little clubs they have is just like, regional this, regional that. And they're probably a lot like the ones we have too. It's just not, we don't see them the same way, right? Because we're like on the other side of this. We're over here, right? We're looking at it going, everything's this, everything's that. That's the only answers we have. So these guys will tell us what to think, right? But if we take a different kind of look at it, yeah, they have clubs. Guess what? You can go to college and you can join a fraternity. Doesn't mean that you're part of the global ownership class. Doesn't mean you're part of one of their secret societies or anything like that. It's really just falls in these clubs. I think that secret societies really kind of like, I think they're really kind of like here, although I think they're here. I think I put them here just because they exist in both worlds. And just because these guys are way over here on a mountain doesn't mean that they're not right here, right? Because they're the guys that are putting these dudes up, right? Paying these dudes off. They're influencing everything here. They are here in spirit, right? Even though we put them down here, is to understand there's a separation, right? It's to understand that this isn't them. They just influence it, right? They're way back here doing a lot more doing other things, right? That enable this whole narrative, this whole paradigm to exist right here. And they do it through this long-term cycle of abuse, because I keep reiterating this, but I just want to make sure that it's clear where I'm going, is that they understand through their occulted knowledge, right? They understand through this occulted knowledge based on experience, psychology, it's experience, experiments, psychology, studies, ongoing intellectualism, think tanks, so on. I guess I could put think tanks in this group here. I think it kind of insinuates that most of the think tanks. All in that same little area. And though anybody can create super PACs, but it's kind of like a usage of it. That's why we got it there. But yeah, so they understand this through. These little lines keep appearing on it everywhere. It's so funny. All right, so they understand it through their own experience, and they hand this wisdom down. That's the occulted knowledge, right? It's what's handed down and what's unknown to others. So if they understand that, hey, look, all we got to do is make sure that these wheels keep turning, and whatever pops up over here in whatever weird way, just go with it. Pull them in the direction they want to go, because it's all about just keeping people consenting and distracted, right? You've heard this in bread and circuses and, and manufactured consent, right? How to get someone's free will allocated to them, allocated to you, through a manufactured consent. Let me take care of it. I got it, right? Just consent to me doing it for you, and it's all good. That's what politicians do every day. That's their whole gimmick. That's what corporations do all the time. I guess megacorps could kind of be in here too somewhere. They're more problem than they're worth. The reason why they're problematic in our society is because they're easily influenced. They're easily influenced through money. Monetary control, market control is really one of the biggest influencers on them. Make or break you. We got everything we need, right? We got everything we need to make or break you. Pick the winners and the losers. That's the market control. So you also get into like this big control realm. So the funding of illusions, the controlling of illusions, is another way of looking at it. But why is this so important? Think about how much energy goes into these things. People say, well, do we really need to have this third veil here? But think about it. If you didn't know about things like the troubled teen industry or the ongoing, and putting these all together, like in under one umbrella, you can start to see that what it does is it creates this cycle of abuse in the terms that it subverts the young with information like, you know, like we've been talking about, right? Which is abusive to do to young people, right? But it also sends them in these directions, right? So they could end up becoming any of these things as they get older. They can get involved in the drug culture, right? Which will put them into the troubled teen industry, perhaps into the prison industry, right? All these things can get you involved in these institutions, right? All these things can get you on these drugs, right? What does that lend itself to? It's lending itself to better mind control, right? Because the more subjective you are, the more easier you are to control. Some people may think that they're not controlled at all. They just can't see the prism. They just can't see the walls yet. That they are, and it just goes down to stop predicting what you think is going to happen. Start coming up with solutions to what you see. And when you start to try to put solution for things like this and things like that, right? You're not going to find many answers. You will find the people, but they won't have any kind of like capability to it, right? The system's already set up as it is. It's about us removing the enablement of the system, right? That's what solution culture is about, removing the enablement. So what are the things that we focus on in solution culture, right? We focus on the generation that's coming up, because that's where the real change is going to be. I know you've heard this, and it sounds kind of defeating to someone in generation 2 or generation 1 or generation 3, and I'm talking about like whoever's still around at that point, right? As you become go from being the kid to the parent to the grandfather, to the grandparent, right? As you work your way through life. I know it sounds a little bit defeating. We all want a big victory parade and so on. But I think the older that we get, the more we can accept the fact that we're here for the kids and that we're here for the future at some point. That our heyday, our fun, our heyday, our beautiful years were given to us and we got them, and now it's time that we give back. That's what the circle of life is seemingly more about, right? And this circle of abuse likes to interrupt that circle of life, for sure. But you see that we're focusing on the core, right? And we're thinking generationally because we're in a generational type of situation. So we might not see any of this stuff in our lifetime. If we have the wheels of motion going out of this world, we've done our part. We've done more than any generation before us. Let's put it like that. We've done more than anybody else before us. If we can have things going in this direction by the time we leave this world, and have our kids carry it on because they're part of it too. Your kids should be involved in the solution culture from right now. How can you prep them for the solution culture in terms of being ready and prepared to take on this corrupt world in a non-violent way, but an effective way, right? And that's by building their mind up and their resistance up, right? Don't hide them from the skills they're going to need. Give them more skills than they're supposed to have, right? That's been my solution. That's how you get through this stuff. And if you actually do have a run-in with any of this stuff with your kids, you have a foundation to build off of, to go back to pull them back out of the darkness and into the light from. And that's what understanding all this stuff at a granular level will help us do, as well as at a higher level where we can see the differences between the two sides that are out there right now, what that means, and so on. Down here, I talked about this is the crisis kind of area, human crisis in your life. The way that Yuri laid out ideological subversion, right, which is this line right here, he laid it out in this pattern of country to country warfare. But I believe this is now become ingrained in our culture as part of a system of control beyond just warfare, it's just general control over the people, right? They can just repeat the cycle over and over again. It doesn't have to always end in the tanks rolling down the street. Normalization can just be, okay, you're in charge of the money. Okay, you're in charge of the markets. Okay, you know, okay, you guys make all the decisions. You know, okay, you're in charge of me from cradle to grave. Yeah, that's gonna be normalizing ideas. Right now, there's an attempt to normalize these ideas, right? To make this gender stuff stick. I don't think a lot of us realize that it's not stuck yet, right? It's still trendy. There's still a chance that we have to reverse this. That's why it's important to understand that, where we need to attack it isn't in the bathrooms at the mall, but it's wherever kids are. Removing the enablement, removing um, the incentive for people who do this type of grooming activity to be there, right? That's one of the first solutions I put out was cameras in schools with mics, CRT in charge, parents in charge, parental rights, major part of solution culture. Parental rights has to be there. We can never give these up in any way, shape, or form. And we have to understand when they are actually trying to make us give them up. Things like mandatory. When you hear the word mandatory, right? Almost always the word mandatory involves the restriction of rights and those rights of your kids, right? When they can do mandatory health care on them, right? Let's put it that way. You've abandoned parental rights. You've abandoned mine if you voted for it. If you go with it, if you don't have kids, I want you to know that when you do go with things that are mandatory, like you may think is protecting your ass, you're literally taking away your own parental rights should you choose to have children. Should you not choose to have children, I'd ask you to please let us keep our parental rights because we certainly will fight you for them. And that's a promise. There's no larger lobby group on the planet more powerful than the parents. And if the parents ever figured that out and got together, everything would be our way. So just keep that in mind. Let's all play nice. But the future parents, man, I want to encourage everybody to have kids. But future parents, keep that in mind too. Like when you're saying, well, it sounds like a good idea if we all have to get these things that are going to make everybody better, right? Just I want you to keep in mind one day you'll have a little innocent life in your hands and you'll be in charge of hopefully still have your rights to be in charge of them. But wouldn't it suck if the government just came along and told you what to do with your own kid after waiting all those years to be a parent and having your turn to raise someone else and take that responsibility? Someone just takes it away from you. If a bunch of college kids vote for selfish shit and, you're out of parental rights. Yeah. So, yeah, spread the word. Spread the word. Okay. So where are we at here tonight? Let's take a look at the chat again. Hey, look, I keep forgetting to take comments down. More power. Well, the solution is always more power for government. I don't know about that. Be careful about it. That's always their solution, isn't it? Yeah, they play the Hegelian dialectic all the time. That's something that should be up here eventually. But create the crisis, deposes the savior. Right? We go back to this. So create the crisis, deposes the savior here in government. Right? Here's some crises that we face today. Right? Right? Aren't these all like kind of involved in crises in some way? Yeah, at least create them, right? Again, not a finished product. I'm still working on this stuff. So as we see it, guys, help me out. Help me make it better. Maybe there's a way that we can, if you want to, maybe there's a way that we can get it so it's more of a group effort, like working on it without changing any drastic changes or someone coming in there messing it up. I'll think about it. If you guys have any suggestions, let me know. Yes, we are definitely. I used to think of human beings as like this. We're like just walking hard drive, man. We're constantly absorbing everything, and we absorb more than we actually perceive or take in. There's so much going on in our minds at all time. It's an amazing thing. It just, when I think about it, how unique and special it is. It's like it's wild. Makes you be thankful for living, man. Thankful for having this life and thankful for getting a chance to be light and be life. Um, Mike is writing the logically wise comment. Okay. Aliens. Ooh. Do I believe in aliens? Logically, they pretty much have to exist. Uh, They always say, see, me and Mike agree on this part. I'd say, yeah, if you're talking about, yeah, triggers are huge. We should go over those, no doubt. Because then you can see how the media works too. Like you could also feel when the triggers are coming. Uh, I started noticing a long time ago just because of my degree, but it was I wasn't sure why for the longest time. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Is like I don't think that we've ever seen any aliens, and I don't think that who knows what they look like. We can imagine them, but will we run into aliens first, or there AI? But yeah, as far as them being here and doing all kinds of covert things and working with the government, that sounds so stupid now, doesn't it? If you just like really say out loud, doesn't it sound stupid to believe that that's going on? You know, it's one of those lines again. I must have had them all connected at one point. You've got to be kidding me. Crazy. All right. I feel like there's like a bunch of cat hairs on my board or something. I'm plucking off. Okay, yeah, but these guys, right? Like, they got a million stories. If you ever listen to this, this is conspiratainment at its greatest right here. You can sit here and listen to these UFO stories. They're so funny. The Galactic Federation of Light. We should bring up some Drake, man. Drake got some great stories about is how he's in touch with the aliens and transdimensionally goes between worlds and blows them up with his mind. Oh man. Yeah, but see here's the other thing too. It's like if you're an alien, you're gonna fly all the way here to do acrobatics in your UFO. Whee! I go this way really fast. Whee! I go this way really fast. Look, I'm going up. Look, I'm going down. Now I'm splitting into two. Now I'm back to one. Now I go this way really fast. Bye. See you next time. Ding. It's like, okay. I think aliens have better things to do than come here and perform like the Blue Angels or something. In a sense, they are things beyond our perception, yes. The mathematical probability of life other than just ours, we haven't explored 10% of our oceans right here, not to mention the land masses. Yeah, I mean, I don't, I think we agree on the fact that there's probably something out there. I don't even know if we'll ever run into it, honestly. But I guarantee you that they're not coming here to fly and do acrobatics and orb shaped UFOs. Let's see. Triggers are huge. They can easily be weaponized by people who are practiced at spotting and exploiting them. Absolutely, and they do it every day. Every day. You don't think that these wind up toys that are going out right now, the new lone wolves in a dress and a wig. You don't think that they're completely been triggered and targeted? Yeah, we're getting back into over here now. We're getting back into this area. Useful idiots. I guess we could put wind up toys. Like I would like to say that I like to have an area where we can just I click on this and we drill down on it. I can like say more about it. Time will come. But yeah, cults and useful idiots, man. We're back in these areas. I almost want to put this up here. Like I feel like this should go higher and this should come down in this area. Yeah. Oh, put that back. All right, you come down here. All right, there we go. Let's get into this stuff, right? All right. And that's just like broken coalitions, my symbol for broken coalitions. Like, there's no reason why these groups should not be together, other than the fact that they're not straight. Like, that's ridiculous. It forms a paradigm against straight people. It's obviously a divisive organization. They don't hide their intentions very well, but they do suck in a lot of people that are otherwise decent people. And they into feeling that they have to be part of it, or they are by default part of it. So that's something I encourage all the base people who would consider themselves part of this. And I don't even be's a fetish, man. Because you either live one lifestyle or you live the other. That's just my take on it, but people can argue with me. The but brand split, man. I told you the solution to this right here is a brand split. It needs to be broken up into pieces. The it kind of needs to start there. I think, like I said, I think of that as kind of like I don't know why that's there, because you either live this lifestyle or this lifestyle, and I guess you could count this as a lifestyle too. I kind of see it like unfortunately Q's kind of taken over T, so I would have to see that the brand split should be like that, but we'll leave it like that for now. The brand split would save each one of these groups from the humiliation of the underlying cover that's been given to the worst out there amongst us, um, way over here, right in this area, the worst amongst us. Um, that's where they're getting cover from that. So that's why it's not that the idea of unity or tolerance is bad. It's the idea of creating a cover for really bad people, and by using a mask is the wrong thing for our culture and our society. And it's definitely something we don't need to have, right? We don't need to have that. Everything was going great in the 90s. What the heck? Everything was going great. The 80s and 90s were good years. We all got along. We didn't care. Nobody cared. Nobody cared that Boy George. Nobody cared about Liberace. Nobody cared. Suddenly it's a problem. Why? Attack on the children. All right, let's see. A peasant in the king's clothing is still a peasant. A king in a peasant's clothing is still a king. Hmm. Hmm. What's a king? King is just somebody who's got a lot of consent. Yeah. Whether the people know it or not. Hey, how many times they ever voted a king? They give them consent to rule. They're like, yeah, go ahead. You know? And on a day-to-day basis, yeah, you can push us around. But when it gets to a certain point, you're not the king anymore. We'll take care of that for you. And it involves people waking up, and it's some, like I say, in a similar fashion to being born into this kingdom, right? And all these words are different, but they still do the same things in different ways, right? They keep the peasants peasants, and that's really what's behind the cycle of abuse and the cycle of corruption, is to keep everybody wrecked over here. That's all of us, right? This is the basically, whether you're with the establishment or not, you still, this is the anti-establishment. This is the people, right? And even the useful idiots were people at one point. There's some of them do come from powerful families, and they get off doing their little leadership thing. But at the end of the day, they're probably just like subservient to this ownership class that's going on. Though it doesn't matter when it comes to solving the problem how accurate we are in terms of where those lines are drawn, or does it matter that we understand the system, how it works, and then how to take it down, how to remove the enablement from it? That's the key thing, right? How much time do we waste talking about blood rituals and all these other crap, right? It doesn't lead to a solution. I don't care if they're doing this shit or not, honestly. It doesn't matter. The fact that they're doing this bothers me. Right? That's enough for me right there. I don't need to worry about what their religion is, or what their little clubs are, or what they you know I don't give a shit about that stuff. That means shit to me, because at the end of the day, this is what they're doing, and it's really just to sustain this. Is it manufactured corruption? Really, it's manufactured classes too. So I don't know if I want to put that there or on the next level, because I think the next level is where we are going to find the manufactured classes. So I'm going to leave it covered for now. You guys probably saw it already, but I kind of want to, like, for the new people, leave it a little bit mysterious. All right, so I've been rambling on here for almost 2 hours. Let me go back to the chat real quick. I'm going to try to lay off the board here, and we're going to leave off at right here at the fourth veil. A note here, fourth veil, talking about cycle abuse, manufacturers, corruption, and class. So it keeps them in power, right? Keeps them up here away from us, because we're so messed up down here that we don't have time to address the real issues. And it's this cycle of abuse that keeps us locked in. So we need to address this at this level. And when we break this down over generations, we'll then have an avenue into here. And you say, that's not soon enough. We have to do something sooner. I tell you what, every time you take something away from them, you set them back. That's the idea of what's going on with the anti-establishment and Trump right now, or whoever is going to be the leader of it, probably most likely him, right? For the next 4 years at least, after the election. right? How much can we how big of a wrench can we throw into this? I'm gonna end off with this tonight, and talk about this idea, and we'll pick back up next week. Before we do, before we go, I'll say a few words, but don't take off yet. Don't take off yet, because I want to remind you to come Saturday night for the my appeal. My appeal is gonna be live recorded, and I'm going to be going through all the points and all the pain points that we suffer as small content creators. So it won't just be about me. I'm going to talk about people who can't get monetized, people who have had struggles with copyright claims, people who have struggles with these grandfathered in policies that take their challenge down. So a lot of discussion on that. I'm going to go into my own world here and show everybody what's going on, because I'm live recording this for YouTube, and then I'll clip it out, and it'll be what I send to them eventually. So we're going to follow that story too. Will I get my monetization back? We shall see. But if I do, what will it mean? Maybe nothing, because I might just lose it again, because I'm not going to stop doing what I do. Yeah, I got some of that stubborn in me too. All right. So anyways, yeah. So show up Saturday for that. All right. It's going to be good, and it's going to be very enlightening. And I want y'all to share along in that with me. All right. So I got us marked down as where we left off. We're going to go into more of the class things and how we kind of get set off in our ways, and why they're able to maintain this like era of superiority, if you will, financially, at least financially above us, and maintain this generational wealth while we struggle to maintain our status here. And we worry about things as the world changes, where our place in it will be. And hopefully that'll lead to some conversations about taking the initiative on things that we can in fact do today to see a change that could actually help us out in our lifetime. Not all of it will be generational change. Some of it will be the ability to jump in at opportune moments like AI and other things that could really, when they're on their back heels, is when you can make the biggest inroads. And a lot of it is just putting them back on their plan, just pushing the back on the plan, right? And say a plan, right? It's not really a plan as much as an idea in motion, right? The ideas will lead to the plans because they're inside the parameters of the idea, right? So if the idea is an authoritarian idea, didn't matter. You don't have to have the Hitler committee to work that out for you, right? If enough people are bought into or to have their consent manufactured for an authoritarian government, that's all you really need, right? And you can get that just by doing some good old fashioned ideological subversion along generational warfare lines, right? It's all there. It's all right there in front of us. So anyways, yeah, we'll pick back up on that. Let me take a look at the chat before anybody else leaves here. Let's see. Let me come back up here. Kind of signify. Okay, that's a great quote. I like that. Elites have a secret clubs. They're not open to commoners, which were the Ivy Leagues, but that was infiltrated by quotas. And in 2023, their clubs now have 50K annual dues. Yeah. I mean, the elitism does have a and I never call them elites. They're not better than me. But the elitists, yeah, they have their own clubs. They have their own societies too. I mean, just like we do. The only difference is that we'll probably let somebody in that's an elitist that we probably wouldn't even know the difference, will we? But yeah, it's you're working on your own level there, right? So if Joe Schmo and his six pack come rolling in with this $50,000 a year job to the elitist party zone, right? They don't have a lot in common. And it's just kind of like the thing. I think it's borderlines of tribal, but of course a lot of it's traditional. A lot of it has to do with business, keeping things in the club. I get it. It's all there. It's just not as strategic as I think some people want to believe. Is some of it a stepping stone? It seems like it. I mean, I've heard the stories. You see like the political stepping stones through things like Skull and Bones. I think that's got some teeth to it. Is it necessary? No. Otherwise, every politician would be Skull and Bones, right? So it's not necessary, but there is some prestige to it, I believe, that may help out those guys in their little world. I don't know. It would be really great is to get somebody from that world to come talk about that world that has a perspective on it. And I'm talking like a deep perspective on it, like, inside the dirtiness of the politics, political family or something like that. That would be interesting. That shadow shows a lion. The cat that shadow shows a lion. Cute. So I say a seven generation Princeton family equals, yeah, a seven generation Princeton family. That means they will pay a lot of money to the school. They're in with the people. They think it's part of their family tradition. There's other families that are all cops, all firemen, all went to in the military. Same thing. Desensitization to toys. Now, what's that mean? I don't know what that means. Look, toy. If it's coming from T3, you have to wonder what kind of toy she's talking about. Despite royalty, but the truth remains. I despise royalty, but the truth remains. Yeah, royalty is an idea, right? Royalty is an idea. It's so. I think Game of Thrones is so great at like just showing you how fragile that idea is, right? Royalty just like almost is like having a target on your back in that world. It's like okay, yeah, we get the good stuff, but whew, you never know when you're gonna be like killed in the most grotesque way possible. Skull and Bones is a yeah, there's that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Bush. See, I mean, that's the whole thing. It's like we get into these things, right? You have these clubs or stepping stones to networking throughout. You have your brothers, right? You're gonna stand by their side. There's people here that have been in fraternities and sororities that are in the chat and around our scene, and they have the experience, and they're not all. But I tell you what, they're all like that in the sense that they're not all elites, but they're all like that. If you're in part of a good fraternity or sorority, you'll keep those friends for life, and you will have connections because of them. That's the truth. You don't have to be an elitist for that to happen. It's just that we focus more on that because the big famous names come out of it, right? And one day somebody will get a good beat on that, but you know, it's not part of the solution. It's part of the lore. Um, you're someone from that realm. Surprise. Okay, cool. Talk to me, man. I don't know. I can't look into that, but I'd love to hear about it, and you can tell us about whatever you want to. So you've got an invitation from me to come on here and talk about any of that stuff. I'm highly interested in researching that kind of stuff, and I know that there's other people that I know from outside in the troubled teen industry that know famous people that come from the wealthy part. That's why I'm saying like there's this other layer of things that go on because the troubled teen industry and the prison industry does not. Well, maybe the troubled teen industry more so. That takes in everybody. There's kids there. Those places are expensive. There's a lot of those kids there are well off kids. Like a lot of those kids there are coming out of like wealthy families. Paris Hilton. I watched the Paris Hilton documentary not too long ago about her experience. She went to 3 different schools like this. I mean, she went through some serious stuff, man. Uh, or when schools, they were institutions. She went through some serious abuse. She escaped from all of them too. Have you seen there's a documentary called Paris? It starts off slow, I'll tell you that. But it gets good towards the end in terms of the institutions and what went on there. Not quite as detailed as The Last Stop. Of course, that's a very special movie, but our documentary it was done by the survivors and over a long course coming off of victory. So it was that's a special one right there. But the um the Paris one is informative. It shines a new light kind of on her situation. So I'd recommend watching that if you're interested in learning more about that troubled teen industry. Maybe we'll do a watch along one night. I'll watch it again with some people if they want to watch it. It's always something new you can learn. All right, so I need to. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm not doing that for the outro. I'm doing a different outro. Um, I haven't heard that one in a while. Sound good? All right, we'll do it like this. Okay, I got that set up. Thanks for hanging out here tonight. see. I'm gonna finish reading these. Surprise. Okay. Well, hey, look. We have to follow up on that now. You've let it fly, Tweety. She's not just Tweety fake U.S. news. It's Tweety the elitist. Oh, you're 7th generation Princeton family. Okay. Did you go to Princeton? We could talk about this in Discord too, by the way. But I would like to know more about your insights. In fact, you should have that's what your channel should be about, not U.S. news. Silly. Didn't understand the first time. Oh, I see. Okay. Paris Hilton is amazing for revealing her experiences. Did you see the documentary, Tweety? It's really good. I liked it. I mean, it's a little slow at first, but you have to get the backstory. And yeah, she's got that rock star thing going on where it's like, constantly being pulled in different directions by people and have the whole world after you. I always like to compare the Kardashians hand down. I didn't watch Kardashians. I had no idea who they were. Yeah. She is. You should get to know. It's like you start to understand these people that were born into these elitist families that are just people, man. There's like I try to explain. It's like we're all born innocent, love, and light. Yep. Anyways, hey, thank you guys so much for being here tonight. And again, Saturday night, big night. Please stop by. Please come be part of it. I got a nice presentation put together to tell YouTube where to stick it and how to fix it. And I hope you'll be there for it. And if not, I'll just be around doing whatever. I hope to see you out and about and around. Stop by the Discord, say hello. Always free to talk anytime. Thank you so much for being here tonight, Mike. We appreciate it. Hey, guys, until next time, you guys keep on winning.
come down on me. I'm holding my soul, she going out west, she and me. Going out west, she and me. Going out west, she and me.